Professor Yukshan Wang, RGC and panel members, Vice Presidents of the universities, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to the RGC Forum. I'm Phoebe, the Master of Ceremonies today. In the past few days, the subject panels just finished the assessment of proposals under General Research Fund and other funding schemes. Today, we are very pleased to have Chairman of RGC, Professor Yukshan Wang, to host the forum, and the 6 panel chairmen or their representatives to share with us the observations and comments from the panels. After the experience sharing session, there will be a question and answer session. May I now invite Professor Yukshan Wang, RGC Chairman, to give us opening remarks. Professor Wang, please.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Welcome to the RGC Forum. I'm sure that all of you have just a very fruitful visit of the university, understanding more about their facility and their project, and also have good discussion and exchange with the postgraduate students and our young faculty member. The RGC Forum was held in 2018. Now, unfortunately, after the second time of the RGC Forum, it has to be stopped, suspended because of the pandemic. So I think this is very lucky we could have the forum to operate again this year. This year, we have received a record-breaking number of 3,700 grant proposals, grant applications, competing 3,700 total. Competing GRF, ECS, HSS, FPS, and so on. And the result will be announced at the end of this month. RGC pays equal emphasis on collaborative research. In this connection, RGC has launched the Young Collaborative Research Grant under the CRF for a 3-year pilot period. And I'm delighted to see the encouraging feedback to the young collaborative research from the university and from the universities. And apart from that, the number of applications received under the CRF has also increased by about 21% in the year 2023 to 24 exercise. So today, we have also invited the CRF selection panel chairman to join us and share his observation on the CRF. Now, I'm sure all the members of the research community, sitting here or not, are keen on striving for excellence. Now, as RGC chairman, I would like to emphasize that of parallel importance is research integrity. Now, there will not be excellence if research integrity is compromised. In organizing this RGC forum, we hope to provide you with an opportunity to exchange views with our panel chairs and their representatives. In a minute, each of the panel chair or panel members, they would say a few words about their observation in this year's assessment exercise. I hope they will be brief so that we will leave enough time for exchange with other colleagues. In addition to the panel members, today we also have a lot of local academics. They sign in to participate at this RGC forum. So I wish we could have a very effective and fruitful exchange. So if you have any question, please feel free to ask the panel members, and they would be happy to answer. I would like to thank you all for coming today, and in particular, the panel chairs and members who have been working so hard in the past 3 days, assessing all the funding proposals. I would also like to thank HKUST for providing this excellent venue for staging this event the RGC forum, and also their staff in providing logistic assistance. So I'll stop here and turn over to our MC. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Wong. The sharing of the panels now begins. May I invite Professor Meng Chen to share the observation of the Biology and Medicine panel. Professor Chen, please.
Okay, thank you. So the chair of the panel, Professor Hongtao Yu, cannot make it, so I was asked to say a few words. My name is Meng Chen. I'm a professor from University of California at Riverside. So, and this is actually the 4th year I'm on this panel. So, I think I'm so happy that, year over year we see the exciting science being done. So there's only one message I wanted to convey here. So I think the committee think that there is a daring need to increase funding to support young faculty members, right? Because currently in our panel, the success rate for early career grants are actually lower than the regular grants. So we think that the allocation to the young faculty funds should be increased. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Chen. May I now invite Professor Raymond Kan, Chairman of the Business Studies panel, to the stage, please.
Good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Raymond Kan. I'm a professor of finance from University of Toronto. Chairman wanted me to be brief, but since I'm going to be the outgoing panel chair for business panel, being on the as a member for 2 years and then chair for 7 years, I think I deserve having an opportunity to say a few more words. One thing that when I reflected on what I did for the last 9 years, one thing that I was very happy about is that I have seen the quality of research in Hong Kong has gone up significantly. So this is something that when a new member joined our panel, they always remarked to me that all the proposals, a lot of the proposals are very, very impressive. So I'm very happy about that. The second thing that I'm very happy about the change in the last number of years is the government, the UGC has increased the funding for the B panel. So now more the proposals can be funded. I think in this year, roughly speaking, about 40% or about 40% for both ECS and GRF proposals will be funded. So I think more of you will be happy who submitted proposal this year. I want to say a couple more things, which is something that we observed during the evaluation process, and I think I would like to draw your attention to. The first thing is we often see that when researchers file the completion report, they file something that remotely close to what they originally proposed. In some cases, totally different from what they originally proposed. And I think this is something that is, I don't know whether it's intentional or unintentional. This is something that you need to pay attention. If you are going to change your research objectives, you need to ask for approval. Because at the end of the day, you cannot just submit another paper that has nothing to do with the proposal and claim success. So I think this is one thing that you need to pay attention to. Another thing which I think is a general misunderstanding, I don't know how many times I have said this, people still have this impression that when you apply for a GRF or ECS, you cannot work on it until you get funded. That has nothing to do with that. Once you submit the proposal, you can start working on it. It's just that you cannot finish it before you get your money. And the only thing that you need to do is, if you are going to produce a paper, put it on the web, you need to provide an update to RGC. Declaration is important, but we don't want you to stop because you don't know whether you get funded or not, right? So you start working on it as soon as you have an idea. So I don't want you to have any misconception that once you apply, you couldn't work on it. So I think those are the points that I want to raise at this point of time, and I think later on I will have a lot of opportunity to answer whatever question that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ken. May I now invite Professor John Longton to share the observation of the engineering panel. Professor Longton, please.
Thank you all, and good afternoon. I'm John Longton. I'm the interim dean and a professor of mechanical engineering at Stony Brook University. I'd like to say, first of all, that I've had the privilege and the honor of serving on the GRF panel for 9 years now, 6 years in standard service and then 3 years in the new deputy chair position. And I've lived through both in-person meetings and COVID and now in person. Professor Wong, Chairman Wong, I want to thank you for bringing us all back in person. Thank you. I have one comment, and it's good news for the panel, the proposals that we've seen in the engineering panel, with one footnote of caution. The good news is that, as Professor Kahn mentioned as well, we have seen a noticeable increase in the quality of proposals we have seen, period. And that's a very good thing to see. We debated among ourselves why this is, and we came to the following 3 conclusions. Number 1, that Hong Kong in general is hiring very good new talent, new faculty members that come prepared and capable and understand the system. Number 2, that these new faculty members understand how to put a good proposal together and be competitive from the start. And number 3, that they are availing themselves of the resources at their institutions to be able to make the proposals as good as possible, be that an external review or an internal review, or having help in terms of the writing or structuring, mentoring, asking senior faculty members for advice, and so on. Whatever it is that is happening, it is working, and it is working well. Now, the footnote and the caveat. What I just said is good for the department and the college and the university. It raises the level and the bar as a whole. But this presents a challenge for the individual researcher because the bar is being raised by the competition. So as you yourselves prepare your proposals, please do the very best you can and do all the things that I mentioned above to the best of your ability to make your proposals competitive. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Longton. We'll now invite Professor Cindy Fan, Chairman of the Humanities and Social Sciences panel, to the stage, please.
Good afternoon. It's such a pleasure to have been with our RGC for a number of years, and I actually lost track of how many years I've been with RGC. My name is Cindy Fan. I'm a professor of geography from University of California, Los Angeles. I'm also vice provost for international studies and global engagement. Every time our panels convene, I use it as an opportunity to teach some of the panelists Cantonese, especially. So I think the first day I taught them Zhou-san. The second day I taught them Sik Zhe Fan Mei. And if there were a third day, then I would teach them something else. I wanted to thank the RGC because RGC's role has been so transformative to the research enterprise in Hong Kong and to the research excellence in Hong Kong, as already mentioned by the previous speakers. Similarly, for humanities and social sciences, we've also witnessed over the years significant increase in quality of their research proposals. So I think that's really credit to RGC. It's really interesting to talk about humanities and social sciences in the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. It is, however, a fundamental way of thinking about research. So I can't, and I know that the panelists in humanities and social sciences agree with me, that I can't emphasize enough that humanities and social sciences are fundamental to science and technology. And I just wanted to throw it out there, especially since I'm going to be on YouTube. I wanted to thank the 3 sub-panel chairs. So there are 4 sub-panels in the Humanities and Social Sciences. So Gigi Look is education, Zhu Hua is linguistics and psychology, and Paul Clark is humanities. So I just want to share a few observations. Please do not take these as criticisms, but if you're writing a proposal in the future, please think about these things. One is that consider asking for teaching relief, okay? Some proposals do that, many don't, and there's money for it, so don't be shy asking for teaching relief, because there's time off for you. The second observation I wanted to share is that please prioritize reputable journals when you're publishing, because that makes a difference when assessors look at your completion report. Third is that methodology is extremely important. We all kind of know that, both qualitative methodology and quantitative methodology. But please be very clear about how your proposed methodology is actually specific to the project that you're proposing. Same thing for literature review. Okay. Perhaps shy away from just saying that I'm going to just spend 3 months doing literature review, because we are all expected to be doing literature review all the time, right? You don't need to have an RGC grant to do that. But it's okay if you propose that you are going to update, your knowledge of the literature, you're going to map the new studies specific to the project that you're proposing. In the completion report, perhaps think about whether the information that you're including there is specific, again, to the project that you've just completed. Yes, maybe you've just graduated, you just saw the graduation of a PhD student, but is the PhD student, is what they're doing actually from the RGC grant, okay? And similarly, well, actually not, it's a different point, and that is and I know we have so many world-class faculty here. We have so many world-class professors here. They have multiple grants, right? So when you're proposing a new grant, please be, again, very specific about whether there's a relationship between what you're proposing, and it's perfectly okay that what you're proposing is somewhat related to what you've done, because that's what we do. Okay, you don't expect someone to be always coming up with new things, but it's better to be very upfront about it, that this is what's overlap with what I've been doing, and this is what is new. Okay. Finally, the pathway to impact statement is a topic of confusion for quite a lot of the panelists too. So maybe especially for humanities and social sciences, if you talk about knowledge transfer or technology transfer, that may or may not apply to humanities and social sciences. So please, RGC, help the proposers to understand what kind of impact would be counted as impact. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Fan. May I invite Professor Jonathan Cooper to share the observations of the Physical Sciences panel. Professor Cooper, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, well, coming towards the end, of course, I find myself repeating much of what has been said. Firstly, I will repeat, thank you, Professor Wong, for bringing us back in person. I was on a panel meeting last Saturday with a Zoom call before I left to come to Hong Kong, 2 a.m. in the morning, and never again. Very good. And I thought the last comments actually about the pathways to impact are really important. I'm actually an engineer. I'm sitting on the Physical Sciences panel, and I think that there is, I don't want to use the word weakness in the way that the pathways to impact is presented, but it certainly could be a lot better. And the clarity about the translation, whether it's into the clinic or into industry, the clarity about engagement with policymakers, the clarity about engagement with the public are all extremely important. And it's not just about the outputs and the academic pathway to impact. So that's one statement that we were going to make. I thought the comments from the engineering panel were we could echo them as well. Indeed, the quality is going up, and it is becoming a much more competitive panel. And I think it starts to become. I was once at a conference where the introducer said, "Please remember to switch your phones back on when you leave." But I do think the quality is going up, and I think at the funding borderline, there are marginal differences which we're being asked to assess upon. And so I think what was said is very, very important to really strive your best to get your proposal over the line. Our success rate, I think, is going up, and our success rate will continue to go up, I believe, as well, as RGC fulfills its strategy. The last point is one that I know that I'm going to fall out with Professor Wong about, because we've already had discussions about this. But I think there is a real opportunity in Hong Kong to see a greater diversity of applicant. And within our panel, we are surprised by how few, now I could choose my words carefully and say how few individuals who identify as females, or we could say women, actually apply to the proposals, and that is reflected in the success rate. And that's not just actually in our panel, because we saw this in the fellowship panel for the STEM side, the S panel of fellowships as well. So actually, this is actually something that I suggest needs to be thought about within the community of the universities in Hong Kong, about what you can do to encourage that greater participation and gender equality. So there was something that I was asked to say, and I don't understand it, but it is to remind principal investigators that budget for approved one-line vote items are intertransferable. Now, what I imagine that means is that that there is flexibility in your budget, and please do make the most of that in order to maximize the impact out of your grant. But please also do make sure you go through the necessary approvals, either internally within your university or within the RGC framework, to make sure it's permitted, because we had some issues around our final reports where that was not the case. But otherwise, it's been a pleasure being in Hong Kong again, and thank you.
Thank you, Professor Cooper. May I now invite Professor Wing Kam Liu to share the observations of the Collaborative Research Fund Selection Panel. Professor Liu, please.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'd like to thank Hong Kong UST hosting such a fantastic event. And this is the largest event I've ever seen. I hope this is not going to set a competition for the few years. On behalf of Chairman Wong and the wonderful staff at RGC that make this selection committee very, very successful because of their diligent work and precisions, so that we can actually get all the review process completed on time. And also very, very nicely work out. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. My name is Wing Kam Liu, and I'm from Northwestern University. And I'm the chair of this CRF, or Collaborative Research Grant Fund Selection Committee. And as you heard from the previous panel chairs for each individual panel, all the wonderful things that we have seen here. And I just want to give you something that for somebody who want to apply for this grant, what is CRF? Okay. And we know that there's not enough money. So we need to talk to Professor Wong and the university, say, can we increase more money? Because we have a lot of good proposals that we cannot fund. Not because the proposal is not good, it's because the money is limited. So let me give a little bit background. What's CRF? CRF is a funding scheme for medium scale. So it's not bigger than the regular grant, but not as large as AOE, but it's a stepping stone in this one here. Okay. And typically the funding size is between 2 to 10 millions, but that's only a guideline for it. And CRF would pursue interdisciplinary. Those are the most important one. That means not a single discipline. It's an interdisciplinary area that we encourage collaborations. Okay. And the good thing is it increased from 121 million in 2019/20 to 280 million up to this year. And we are good, fortunate, unfortunately, we fund about 40 to 50 grants per year in this case. So that is a limitation, even though we increase more than double in a short time. Now, apart from the CRF grant, we actually come up with something called the Young Collaborative Research Grant for Young Investigators. This is a very good one. It just started last year. And the whole idea will be we let them have management capability to lead a medium-sized project so that they might stepping stone to go to, say, TRS or AOE, something like that. So now what is successful? How do we define successful? Now, this is only from the collection of what we hear from the individual and also from the panel chairs would be, but this only is a suggestions. Now, whether proposal is innovative, that is the key point, okay? Whether the research outcome can lead to a bigger or major research grant, which we talked about earlier. Now, in terms of collaboration, what is collaboration? Okay, so one definition about would be the collaboration should be an overlapping of different disciplines. So they can say 1 + 1 is bigger than 2. Hopefully more than that in this case here, right? And each team member should work really closely with the team together with their students or postdocs so that you can come up with some new ideas, okay, which I like to call it intellectual merits, and how these intellectual merits will lead to broader impact. Now, broader impact depends on how you define it. I'm Cindy say a little bit about the definition of broader impact. So again, would be my suggestion to the proposer would be think about this: what it is and why. That is very important. And then you go to how. Okay, but you don't want to have too many what's. You don't have too many hows because then you're not concentration to do what it is. So think about one big idea, that is my what, and then why you want to do it, that's a broader impact. Then you talk about how we're going to collaboratively work together to be successful, to do my what and why, in this case. So there's something that would be one more thing I'd like to mention is, what is the definition of research quality? We are not interested in quantity. The number of publication, number of report is exciting, but do they actually give you some new way of thinking or so-called broad impact? That is how we're going to define that part. So the number is not the key, the quality. If you have one great idea, that's all you need to be successful. Now, let me talk about the Young Collaborative Research Grant, okay? And this one basically would be started, last year, and there are a lot of good ways to improve it. And when we talk to the research assistant professor level here, and they have something that they say would be, how come it's only limited 5 from a university? That is something I like RGC and the university think about it. Why is it 5? Because they eliminate a lot of young investigators. They don't have an opportunity to apply for it. So it depends how the institute do the screening or RGC do the screening. So this is something that I think RGC to think about it, on this one. And finally, I want to talk about equipment grant. I think equipment grant is very, very important. And I'd like to have more money to fund it. And I think last year we funded one through the Humanities and Social Science because they work with some other team members. I can't remember. Cindy, you probably can tell me about that part there. I think it's very exciting for that one, that we've actually fund equipment to the Humanities and Social Science because we work together very, very nicely, address proposals. So the question about why you want to write an equipment grant is how unique this grant is for Hong Kong, why we need it. Again, would be is what and why, okay? And how we're going to work together to bring Hong Kong to the next level. I think that is one way to interpret the equipment grant. I hope this summary will be useful, and we're going to have the next sessions called Q&A. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Liu.